happen to be a very new entry to this cultural field. I've been doing films for just about 6 years and theatre for around 4. Before that, I was a hardcore techie, and I also did my MBA in the US, spent a lot of time and money. So everybody asks, your MBA is actually, going to a waste. You're all doing theatre now, and you're doing all this. They don't even call it theatre. They're like, you're doing all this. It's very disgusting to even name it. And being such a good actor, I make up this great theory that, no, there's a lot of management that goes into it, resource management, active management, location management, blah, blah, blah. And they're so convinced that, this guy is right. There's actually a lot of MBA being put into use here. So I'm able to justify that to all my relatives and friends and any damn person who asks. But the truth is, you don't really need an MBA to organize an event. And I saw Neha mention a couple of times in the video that we saw and in the Doordarshan recording that she had, that a lot of young artists are becoming organizers by themselves. And I think that's a brilliant thing to do. So what you basically need, you don't need an MBA, that's the good news. You just need answers to a few questions, and that's a great starting point. But then you need to ask the right questions. So I'm going to tell you about the basic questions that you need to ask, and you need to figure out the answers by yourself, and then you can organize your own event. So what are the 7 basic types of questions that you normally ask? The why, the what, when, who, exactly. So those are the 7 types of questions that I'm going to tell you. The first 2 are very, very simple. The why. Why do you want to perform? Do you really know the reason? Why do you want to, perform at an artistic venue in front of all this audience? Are you doing it for art, to showcase something new that you've learned? Are you doing it as a source of earning, as your livelihood? And nothing bad about that. Art doesn't really pay that well, but there's still nothing bad about that, giving it a try. And are you doing it as something by yourself, or are you doing it as a commissioned piece by some organization, some NGO, some cultural group? Because the answers that you get out of all of these questions will really dictate on how much money can you spend on the event, where your venue will be, and all the other questions that you ask following that. This why is a very, very big question. Then of course comes what, which actually is much simpler. What are you going to perform? You have to decide the program based on your talent, based on what you do well. It could be near a festival. I remember a few months back near Shivratri, there's a classical dancer in Delhi, Dimple Kaur. She did this amazing program, on different types of Shiv's thingy. I can't really remember what it was because I'm not into classical dance, but it was an amazing performance. I took my 6-year-old daughter there. She's learning dance now, and she also absolutely loved it. I wasn't sure if she'll be able to sit through a full hour of it, but it was amazing. So it all really depends, if it's something around a festival that you want to do, maybe Durga Puja coming up and you want to do something related to that, that kind of a thing you need to make sure you have figured out very well. And that may also dictate the fact if you have a sponsor or not. If you have a sponsor, they may want you to do a few certain things in particular. They may not want you to do a few certain things in particular. So you just have to be a little more careful, because having a sponsor on board is actually a great help. I organize a theatre festival in Delhi called Short and Sweet. And last year we had a great sponsor, Yes Bank. And luckily we were able to do the festival in a much more elaborate manner than the years before. So having a sponsor on board definitely is a great help for you guys. Then comes the third question, the who. So who is doing the show? Are you doing it yourself? Are you a group of artists that you're doing it together? Who will be performing on stage? Of course, there's normally one dancer along with a few musicians. Do you already have your group in place? Very, very important. A lot of times what happens is that the light and the sound are an afterthought. I've seen it in theatre, I've seen it in dance, I've seen it in so many places. And that's, I think, a very, very wrong approach. People actually hire the lighting guy maybe a day or maybe a few hours before the show. Like we have a show tomorrow, can you just come in there at 3 and do our lighting? You need to design the light, you need to design the sound. That takes a lot of effort. So ideally have somebody on board from the very, very beginning. Sometimes you may want to form a new group, get some like-minded individuals together, get them on board, different kind of musicians, different kind of dancers, or you may want to join another group and be a part of that and start working out that. That's a great way for newcomers to actually start off. Let's see, what do I have? Backstage crew, unbelievably ignored in every production that I've been to. When you have your crew there, trust me, they would want to eat, they would want to drink. Nobody takes care of that. They may faint on the stage while the performance is going on. There's nothing worse than that. Have a good backstage crew. Sometimes you may also want, depending on if you have some props or if you have a proper furniture, stage design, you may want a stage designer on board from the very beginning, depending on what art form, what exact dance you are actually doing. Make sure you delegate your responsibilities within the group very well. It could be one of the musicians who's actually taking care of the chai, the coffee, the food, but make sure you delegate that from the very beginning, not the last day. Don't reach the venue and then call up the guy who's carrying the mridangam that, oh, just pick up the chai and the coffee on the way. Make sure you have all that worked out in advance, because that really helps avoiding any kind of problems in the end. Let's see. Okay, that takes care of that question. Then, of course, the when. And I think the when and the where actually are quite connected. The date that you decide, make sure you're prepared for it. Don't think that, okay, you know what, I know how to dance well, so okay, next week I'm going to do my show. That normally doesn't work very well. Sometimes you may not even get a venue. The venue in a place like Delhi is normally a big problem. Sometimes it may have to be booked like year or years in advance. Looking at venues, if you're a new dancer, if you just want a small show, there are some very small, nice venues. Akshara Theatre and even Allianz close by, they're about 100-seater bodies, and they cater quite well in terms of lighting, in terms of the stage and everything. The next up would be something like LTG or Shriram, which is about 250, 300 seaters. And if you want to do like a huge show, then of course something like Kamani. But as Manish mentioned, Kamani has a huge stage. It's humongous. So one person dancing on the whole stage would actually look quite odd. So maybe you can actually use lighting to kind of cordon off the edges of the stage and actually make it appear smaller. So there are tricks again, but again, you have to have a lighting designer on board from the beginning to do that. Kamani has, even though it's one of the prime ODs in Delhi, they have a very bad lighting system. That's been my experience. They don't even have gels in place. So, you tell them and they're like, oh, we don't really have the gels. So they're like, oh, the last people who did the show, they left this blue gel in case you need it, but that's pretty much it. So we then have to run people to Lodi Road, in fact, right next door, Modern Stage House and all these places to buy these gels at the last minute. So again, plan ahead and don't wait at the last minute, because even the best of the venues in Delhi have their own set of problems. Of course, once you have the date in place, depending on the venue, could be months, could be years in advance, make sure then you work back from it. How do you want to stage your rehearsals? The initial rehearsals that you will do at your place, depending on the venue, you may get the venue a few hours or maybe even an evening in advance. You may want to do a dress rehearsal, a technical rehearsal with the light, the sound, everybody. Make sure you schedule all of them a lot in advance, because the last minute planning really doesn't work out. You also need to block very well. We normally rehearse in very small locations in our houses or in our small rehearsal studios. When you take the same piece to a big, huge stage, it does not really work there. So you need to be aware of how the same thing will translate when going on to a huge stage out there. So have to have that worked out. At the same time, for a lot of people, there are a lot of free venue options also. This very option is right here. Habitat. Habitat has this great thing where they can form a partnership with you. It's about a 50-50 partnership. If you sell any tickets, they take half of it, you take half of it. They won't charge you for the venue, they won't charge you for the lighting, they won't charge you for anything. They also take care of ticketing, they take care of promotions, they take care of tons of things. Something that's not on an artist's mind in general is permissions. You need no objection certificates, the NOCs, from the Entertainment Tax Office and the Police Commissioner's Office and the Fire Office and all these places, and it's a nightmare. And what happens is that if you don't have every single of these NOCs, the venue will not let you perform there. They cannot let you perform there, because if they get caught, they get fined in like lakhs and lakhs and lakhs. So until and unless you give them that those 3 or 4 NOCs, they will just say, you know what, get lost. You cannot perform here that night. So when you do it at Habitat, Habitat takes care of the permissions because they have like a wholesale permission thing going like on a daily basis. You don't need to worry about that. So the Habitat in general turns out to be a great option. Also IIC is right here. IIC again is great for cultural programs. They have a great venue. They don't charge you anything, and they want to actually give you a small honorarium. I think it was 5,000 at one time. Could have changed now, but that's a huge help in general. The other thing that both these venues, well actually IIC doesn't have ticketing, but what Habitat also gives you is ticketing and the whole the front of the house staff. The front of house for lighting and sound means different. For organizer, front of house means all the people in the foyer. All your ushers, all your ticketing people who are selling and literally tearing those tickets off, they take care of the printing of tickets. A huge hassle again. So working with a place like Habitat or Epicenter in Gurgaon has the exact same model. That huge stuff is all taken care of. That normally a lot of people get stuck on in the first few times that they try and do it. Great. So now you have your show together. You have everything in place. Now the next two questions come in. 6 is how. Huge. You have everything in place. Who's going to come and watch your show? How do you reach your target audience? Very important. I just saw this amazing card outside. I don't know. Rashmi. Is Rashmi here?
She was here.
Okay, so maybe she's left. But this is a great thing. You can actually design cards like that. Again, like you were saying, it doesn't really have like a lot of logo or something, but with some nice pictures, some nice clear text, it makes the purpose clear. So you need to know how to advertise to your target audience, how to reach to them. Online is a huge thing right now. I think Bhumika mentioned, hashtagging and all those things, they really work well. You can reach out to thousands and thousands of people without literally spending a single penny using all these techniques. You need to really learn how to do that. It's a little tricky at first, but slowly you can do that very well. Become part of all these Facebook groups which have similar kind of taste. Post to them, and people really are very fond of stuff like that. Great theatre groups in Delhi, great dancing groups in Delhi, reach out to them. A lot of online options are there. At the same time, a lot of offline options also exist. Posters are huge. So just like, sorry, I forgot your name. Good, yeah. Just like she said, the posters are an amazing way to reach out to people. You go out to Kamani, go out to Shriram, go out to NSD, they have these huge, amazing, beautiful posters there. The nicer posters immediately will catch your eye. People go to, people who are already going to Kamani, people who are already going to Shriram, they like watching stuff like that. So when you show them posters, similar events, they will come back for that. So make sure your offline outreach is just as important. Along with posters, you also have banners. Again, huge. In terms of once you have your audience in place, something that's quite ignored quite a lot I've seen in Delhi are the programs. I used to live in Pune in the mid-90s. I used to live in the US in mid-2000s. I have programs for the last 20 years, pretty much every single event I've attended. Concerts, operas, ballets. My wife knows, I have these boxes full of junk in there because I love collecting them. Most of the times what you get in Delhi is a printout, all plain text, no designy font, no pictures, nothing. That just doesn't look like something I want to hold on to for the next 20 years, Put a logo in it, put a nice color in it, put something in it, maybe a picture, maybe an image, put something that makes me want to hold on to that for that long. Very critical. A program really connects the audience to the program that's going on. I think who was mentioning, I think you were mentioning in your Doordarshan interview that there was a Draupadi Cheeraran going on and the audience had no idea. They thought somebody was flying a kite. Had they had a program, they could have seen, acha, ye wo ho raha hai, so now we can connect to that. So really invest in that program. Could be a rupee, could be a 2 rupee program. Doesn't really cost a lot. When we do short and sweet, we actually have a whole set of paradigms designed by the parent organization in Australia of what font to use, what color to use, what angle that the logos will go on. Everything has to be very standardized. But when you are starting out, at least start with something. Don't just have that very plain text printout because it just does not appeal to people. Most of the people will actually leave that back in the Audi. And when you have something very exciting in it, maybe a picture, maybe even a picture of the artist, a lot of people will actually pick it up and take it back with them. And that will be your